Cyberwave was released on January 25th, 2019 by Mr. Cow as a submission to the Game Banana Surf Map contest. Mr. Cow was already a mainstay within the surf community by this time, releasing other classics such as the Stonework series, Surf Metallic, and Surf Masonry. Cyberwave was awarded 3rd place in the mapping contest, earning Mr. Cow $100 and losing only to Surf Whiteout and Surf Progress. Despite the 3rd place finish, Cyberwave would prove to be one of the most important surf maps of all time. By the evening of January 25th, the route for Surf Cyberwave was more or less complete. The majority of improvements would come from surf fundamentals: perfect cuts, perfect boards, good strafes, and riding most ramps low. Overall, surfers aim to minimize unit loss, units being the way speed is measured in surf. Surf generally is a game of precision and consistency, punishing even the smallest mistakes, and Cyberwave pushed the best surfers in the world to their limits. Let's take a look at Fishu's run from that evening. On stage 1, the strategy up to the 4th ramp was maximizing unit generation, landing level on the 4th ramp with as many units as possible. Next, surfers took the long curved ramp low and smooth to minimize loss before skipping the 6th ramp. This long turn around the 2nd cylinder is pretty precise. Cut too close and your angle would be off or force a reset, turning too wide and you would slam into the ramp, too high would cause a time loss, and too low could end the run. Top surfers already had this turn memorized, landing exactly parallel with the ramp, a feat that would challenge the vast majority of surfers. After a cut, surfers skipped the 5th and 3rd to last ramps, landing high on the last 2 ramps and getting a direct end into the portal. Stage 2 would see the most changes over the coming years. Surfers rode the 2nd ramp high, originally flicking off to skip the 3rd ramp. Like Stage 1, surfers cut close along the 2nd cylinder and skipped most of the following ramp. At the end of the stage, surfers opted to perform a short cut and ride the 4th to last ramp, transitioning to 3rd to last and ending normally. Fishu finished with a time of 59.024, beating Fav's 59.189 and foreshadowing a deep push below sub 59 in the coming months. So why is Cyberwave so important? First, Cyberwave is highly optimized, with top times within milliseconds of each other. The top 10 times are also completely stacked. All top 10 times are held by amazing surfers, 4 of whom are within the top 10 overall. Second, Cyberwave is a pure unit map, despite the skips and cuts. This means that absolutely every unit matters, and to make matters worse, the map features relatively difficult boards compared to other maps of its type. Generally, ramps can be boarded from behind or above to make boarding easier. Many of the boards on Cyberwave require a board from the same side as the ramp, forcing surfers to make themselves exactly parallel without an obvious visual guide. Lastly, Cyberwave's history is a battle between the best, featuring what is considered by many as the greatest surf run ever completed. Over the next 6 months, the record would hover just below 59, with Cole's 58.82 standing until Levi's 58.68 on August 17, 2019. Levi's run set a strong standard for Stage 1, most notably with 2,100 units before Ramp 4 and 2,620 after the 2nd cylinder. However, Levi lost units during the last 2 skips, with only 2,950 units into the portal. This run would nonetheless stand for almost a year until June 27, 2020. Fishu's end was incredible, performing the last skip with well over 3,000 units and beating Levi's end units by 50, saving him just 0.05 seconds. Between June 27th and July 3rd, the record would fall to Levi's 58.45, before Cole retook with a 58.33. Cole's Stage 1 was slightly better than Levi's, barely missing the 1st cylinder, leaving the 2nd with just 10 more units, but ending with 30 less due to a bad board. However, Cole's Stage 2 represented a huge leap in progression on Cyberwave. Rather than simply leaving the 2nd ramp high, Cole briefly rides the spine of the ramp before an extremely tight turn and board to skip Ramp 3. This strategy minimized time spent in the air and maximized horizontal units. He also further optimized the lines in Stage 2, staying extremely low during transitions. The possibility of a sub 58 glimmered in the distance. The record would stand until September, when Levi fully incorporated this strategy into his run. Levi's Stage 1 was marginally better, opting for an extremely deep cut on the last skip at the cost of units. His stage 2 was different as well, cutting close and low around this long turn. This run was far from perfect, but Levi wasn't finished. Just 2 months later, Levi would achieve what was once considered impossible. On November 13th, 2020, Levi broke his own record of 58.21, just barely missing the sub-58 goal that had for so long eluded top surfers. With a 58.03, Levi was a full 0.3 seconds ahead of the fastest time. Further, Levi's stage 1 time was so fast that he beat the individual stage record while in run. So what made Levi's run so good? Levi enters the first turn with just 5 more units and slightly higher than goal. By the first skip, he has just 10 more units but saves even more time by barely flicking. His board and transition before the second cylinder are perfect, and afterwards Levi has an astounding 2,640 units. Just 2 ramps later and the results are obvious. Levi has 60 more units than Cole into the final skip. He ends up beating the world record checkpoint by 0.03 seconds, 0.18 seconds faster overall. For the second stage, Levi made small optimizations to improve his run. He leaves the first ramp with just 10 extra units and fits an extra strafe in before the second cylinder. He ends the run with 2,200 units, 50 more than his previous run. Levi's 58.03 would go down in history as one of the greatest of all time, winning KSF's Top World Record of 2020 award with 364 votes. Even CSGO's ESL channel recognized how amazing this run was. A comment from Art sums it up perfectly. Just to clarify how good this run is. This is a map that survived 3 surf tournaments, is one of the most popular maps on KSF, and has been grinded by basically everyone. And still Levi is so dominant on this map that he world record checkpoints stage 1 and is ranked 2 on stage 2 in run. A 0.3 second difference on a competitive tier 1 like this is unheard of. This is by far the best world record on KSF. Despite missing sub 58, this was regarded by many as a GG'd map, or a map that was so optimized that it can no longer be improved. However, a tool-assisted speedrunner that goes by the name Batman proved that Levi's run was far from perfect. Rather than using a recording software that captures mouse and keyboard inputs, Batman used a tool that generates inputs itself and could be programmed bit by bit to create a perfect run. Not only were Batman's units godly, but he showed that nearly a quarter of a second could be saved in just the area between stage 1 and stage 2, referred to as the start zone of stage 2. It was only a matter of time before Levi's run would fall. 6 months later, on May 9th, 2021, top surfer Emil broke Levi's record by 0.03 seconds, and everyone was like, what? Despite having a slower stage 1, Emil was able to squeeze a 1/10 of a second out of stage 2 with 2 minor improvements. First, he's able to perform the first skip with just under 10 more units than Levi, gaining a small advantage. Second, he opts to transition into the 4th to last ramp lower, coming into the turn with just 15 more units. As a consequence, he is able to take a deeper cut and finish with nearly 40 more units than the previous world record. The surf community was surprised to say the least, and expected Levi to immediately retake. And Levi was like, nah, I want to play the new map. And the community was like, Cyberwave. So Levi retook the world record, achieving the first official sub 58 run on the map. And then he took it again and again and again. By the end of Levi's rampage, he had lowered the record to an astounding 57.79. His stage 1 incorporated every known optimization, maximizing units and time saved through cuts. This last skip is especially optimal, entering with nearly 3,070 units. His stage 2 was groundbreaking, performing a new skip and avoiding the 4th to last ramp entirely. And with that, the sub 58 barrier that had stood for almost 2 years was destroyed. Is this the end of Surf Cyberwave? Is the map finally GG'd? Apparently not at all. In fact, just a week ago, Emil was able to unofficially break the record. With an even better stage 2, Emil enters the final skip with 2,600 units, on pace to break the record by 0.01. And then, he hits the wall. Regardless, Emil can absolutely take the record, and if Batman's task proves anything, there's lots of room to go. Hey there, thanks for watching. Someone suggested this on the Skillsurf subreddit, so credits to that dude. I'm hoping to make a couple more videos like this before my job starts in August, so any comments or suggestions are much appreciated. There's definitely maps that deserve a cover. I'm thinking like Tronic or Omnific, but I'm sure that there are other ideas. Either way, good luck sliding those triangles.